You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
Happy Sunday morning, everybody. I'm Scott Couch, your host. We're talking politics for the next half hour. 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. And the weather may be a little cool outside in the 70s today, but the conversation is hot. We're going to get it started right here very early. Let me introduce our guest and we'll wade in. Jasper Hendricks, a Democratic strategist, chair of the Metro Fair Board. Steve Gill, attorney and a conservative political analyst and also publisher of Tri-Star Daily. Sometimes Steve will hit me up and it's like, you're on fire, just publishing story after story after story. Emily Couples back with us, former communications director for the Tennessee Democratic Party and founder of Delta Public Strategies, works with campaigns and other public initiatives. So if you need some help, that's who you call. Victoria Pierce back with us, does tech by day, Republican Party activist by night. Glad to have you back.
Cover it all.
That's it. Well, let's talk about Republican Party politics as well as Democrats. And there was a Democrat who joined the race for 5th District in Congress the other day. Andy Ogles is about, almost halfway through his term. I believe November will be, the 1 year, and then he's got a year left. Well, Chaz Mulder, who is, interestingly enough, before he was congressman, Ogles was the mayor of Murray County. Well, Columbia is the county seat there, and Mulder is the mayor there right now, but he's giving that up so he can run. Steve, his announcement said we don't need to be embarrassed by our congressman. And my thing is, will he do any better than any of the other Democrats in the race? Because Jasper and I were talking, there's a couple of other Democrats already in this thing.
I think it'll be very difficult. That district is about an 8 to 10 plus Republican district. And talking about embarrassment, you got the National Democratic Party. The Congress is polling about 18%. If he's going to be embarrassed by anything, it's not Andy Ogles. He ought to be embarrassed by Jasmine Crockett and Hakeem Jeffries and AOC, the squad and the rest. They keep taking the 20% of every poll issue, whether it's girls and boys in the same locker room, whether it's protesting on the streets of D.C. to protest in favor of making it more crime-ridden. So I'm not sure that Chaz is going to run against Andy or run away from the Democrats in Washington.
When he made this announcement, I noticed, and I know we've all seen it, but he didn't say anything about the Democratic Party. He said, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, trying to make some points. Do you see this maybe as the candidates, especially as they're attacking this race, maybe trying to make it less about party and maybe more about ideas and what we can do for people?
Yeah, I think the Democratic Party in general is redefining itself based off of the 2024 election results and making a move to really define who we are as the big ticket, the big tent party. And so I think you'll see some of that with Mayor Mulder. I think it's important to remember he was elected as a Democrat, the mayor of Columbia, actually in response to Andy Ogles being elected the mayor of Murray County. I mean, people did not like Ogles and his leadership, and they came out in droves for Mayor Mulder.
But Columbia is more Democrat than the county, kind of like most of the counties in Tennessee. The cities will be more Democrat. Knoxville versus Knox County. That's why you have a Knoxville mayor that's Democrat and a county that has Glenn Jacobs.
Yes. Yeah. However, I mean, your population center, though, in the county is with Columbia. I mean, some of it is it's still growing Spring Hill, and so when you pull votes from the others in the 5th, especially Davidson County, I mean, if he can carry a lot of Murray County and Davidson County, I mean, he's going to give Ogles a run for his money. He raised over $500,000 in the first 24 hours. I mean, that's almost unheard of. I mean, Ogles didn't even do that. He's lying about his disclosures because he can't raise money.
Now that does say something, though. That's a lot of money.
It does indicate the strength of his campaign.
So did Courtney Johnson. She outspent Andy 3-1 and raised a lot from Democrats and Rhino Republicans who hate Trump.
Well, she was a Republican in a primary, which we know y'all have.
It's always tough for an incumbent.
Yeah, y'all have wonky primaries.
To beat an incumbent.
True.
Now, and we should mention, and Jasper, you mentioned this right before we came on, we don't mean to anoint, the mayor as the nominee. That hasn't been determined yet. There's other Democrats in the race.
Yeah, that's true. There's also Councilmember Mike Cortez out of Brentwood.
Yep. And he's raised a significant amount.
He's raised a significant amount of money as well. Also, Dr. Joyce Neal, from out in Antioch. So there's going to be a nice, lively primary where people will be able to talk about ideals and actually talk about, the good things that the Democratic Party is doing, and not a poll of a couple of hundred people who then defines what people, are concerned about. And I think that that's what the Democratic Party is actually focused on, actually talking to voters and talking to people and not worrying about what the polls are saying, because we know that polls are skewed. We know that polls only take the pulse of a couple of hundred people,
True.
When you have millions of voters. We also know that Tennessee has a problem with voter turnout. And I think that's going to be the focus is voter turnout, because we know that when more people vote, Democrats do win. And the only reason why Republicans win is because people don't turn out to vote because they're embarrassed by, what's happening. I think you're going to see not just in the 5th congressional district, but the 7th congressional district, a very concerted effort to look at actually talking to voters and not paying attention to what polls are saying.
We had record turnout statewide last year, and Donald Trump won by 20
We
votes.
we are last in the nation when it comes to voter turnout. So we can have record voter turnout. There's no way to go but up from the bottom. And so we still have over 2 million people who were registered to vote that did not vote in our statewide election. So we also had a number of people who did not vote in 2024 that did vote in 2020. And so to
Gotta
say
get
that,
those people back
right, so we
involved
have to
in the
get those people
process.
right. We have to figure, they are registered to vote. We just have to talk to them. We have to just go and do the work and talk to them. And that means not relying on social media. That means actually going door to door, having conversations in neighborhoods and in living rooms and at kitchen tables and talking to people about the real issues.
I want to continue the conversation, but I'm up against a break. You've got the first bite at the apple on the other side.
Love it.
You're watching Nashville in Focus on Fox 17, and we will be right back.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
We're picking up the conversation right where we left off. Andy Ogles clearly is running for re-election. Something that he did yesterday and Saturday, he had kind of an open, opportunity for people to talk. He doesn't do a great deal of that. Are you hearing anything about other Republicans who might want to try to challenge him for the nomination? You hearing anything, Victoria?
On my end, I'm not hearing anything. But what I do think is Andy's biggest red flag is his finances. It's very hidden. And I think if he got up front, he has a year now until the election. I think if he got up front and started addressing the issues or fixing or being more transparent with campaign finances or any of these financial issues, I think the numbers could soar a lot and could really benefit him. So to me, I'm looking for, let's keep that transparency open, especially in finances.
Do you think there's any reason why he wouldn't be more forthcoming? Because he's been kind of dragging his feet to share, what people have given you and who's given you what.
I don't really know where he stands when it comes to that.
Yeah. Steve, are you hearing any potential vulnerability, in terms of maybe other Republicans would smell blood in the water and think I'm going to get in?
Look, when you've only raised $59,000 as an incumbent member of Congress in the last quarter, you're not just whistling past the graveyard, you're digging a hole for yourself in the graveyard. You've got to make the call for the money. It's not pleasant. Nobody likes to call and ask for money, but the only thing worse than calling and asking for money is having attack ads being run against you that you can't run attack ads responding to because you didn't raise money. So Andy has to start making the calls himself.
Is he simply not asking? Is that what
He's
you're
not
hearing?
asking directly. And you can't have staff ask for the money. You've got to ask. Marsha Blackburn will wear you out asking for money.
Well, isn't it easier for, I guess, a sitting congressperson to get money? Better than some guy who's trying to get the job or gal.
Yeah.
It will be
Especially from
normally.
PACs.
Well, he has a
and-
lot of the PACs too.
Yeah, especially
So-
from PACs and just other large dollar donors. Everyone wants to talk to the congressman, but if you're not calling them and asking them for the dollars, I mean,
Why would he be
Especially
you
reluctant?
call it dog
in the House
dollars
right
for a
now
reason.
with Green out, the special
Yeah.
election
Right.
going on.
Yeah.
You got a 2-vote majority in the House.
Right.
Every PAC needs to be saying every vote matters.
Yeah.
We need your vote.
Right.
And they ought to be throwing money
Right.
at it.
Why would he be reluctant to do that? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I mean, you've been around a lot of campaigns, you've run for Congress yourself. Why would he not ask?
It's not fun to ask.
Is it just
I mean,
unseemly or no fun?
It's not that it's unseemly. It's just, it's you're going to get a lot of no's. It's like people in sales. If you can't handle 9 no's before you get that yes, you don't need to be in sales. If you can't take a lot of no's in politics, asking for money, you don't belong in politics.
It's
We
tough.
often joke about call time on campaigns. It's Christmas Eve and you're calling your first grade teacher who was just laid off and
Asking for a
asking them,
$100
and shamelessly asking them for money. I mean,
Yeah.
you just have to believe, if you believe in yourself and the mission and the values that you're running for, you should have no trouble asking people for money. But it's
But then,
not fun.
But then also, if people thought that this seat was as critical as as Steve mentioned, and would understand that, then they would be actually throwing money at him. But there's a reason why they're not throwing money at it also. And I think it's because they don't trust him. And that's the number one issue. So whether he's asking for it or not, because he's an incumbent, people would just go on and just click anyway because he's an incumbent, because he's developed relationships with people. That means he's lacking relationships with folks, and that means that people don't trust him.
Well,
And
Courtney
it's-
Johnston challenged him last time, raised a lot of money, and she was a fairly high-profile Republican in this town.
But I think on both parties, when you see there's going to be 20 or 30 House seats that are really contested on both sides, that's where everybody's going to pour their money into.
Right.
Andy has an 8 to 10 point margin in his district, so he doesn't look at
That's
risk.
also those are off of bad numbers, and people
That's
know
over the
this,
last
and that's
elections.
why this is the reason why they're redistricting in other states, is because they know
Yeah.
that there are current seats that are vulnerable, and they're willing to give up some of those seats because some of those people are bad people, and they really don't want them, and so again, if they were concerned, if they liked him. And if they care about him, they would be giving him money.
Well, before we leave Andy Ogles, he has been in the news, on our station and others, talking about
A
wanting
lot.
the National Guard to come in, and that crime is up, and the mayor's office responded by sharing crime numbers. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, we've seen it happen in other cities.
I think, look at what's happening in D.C. It's cleaning out. It's great. I think Marsha called it in for Memphis. I think that's great. Andy called it in for Nashville. My thing is, the mayor was so opposed to it. It makes me wonder, what is he hiding? What does he not want to be exposed? Because here he is getting additional help.
It does not solve any. It does not solve.
It
It does not
does.
solve the issue.
It
No, it doesn't.
solves
It is
crime. It's
it is a
getting rid of
band-aid.
that.
It is a band-aid on a broken leg. And what we're saying is you need to invest in programs to actually help people, to keep people off the street.
Well, the
You
mayor's
can
saying crime's
arrest
not
people.
It's
bad.
not
It's
about the
not.
homeless.
It's not as bad as it was.
Yeah.
People are working, and the programs are working. You just have, number one, you have to give time. You have to invest in the programs. We've actually seen major cuts in programs that have been helping people,
But why
and that's
not
why
get
people,
additional
and that's why
help?
people, and that's why people are on the street right now, is because you guys have cut the programs. You cut the funding for the programs that are actually helping people to stay off the street. And now that you cut the programs, they've been back on the street and they're committing crimes. And now you want to be like, lock them up, like when they were actually getting help to stay off the street.
Jasper, we need to go back to midnight basketball because that was working so well, right? Remember all the inner-city midnight basketball programs? It didn't
Steve, how
solve
would you
crime at
know?
all.
All you know is what the Republican talking points are.
No, because
you
I
weren't
worked
there.
I worked
you,
with the
you didn't see it.
Jasper,
you didn't
you
see
don't
it.
know what you're
You weren't
talking
there.
about. I worked for
You
the
weren't there.
YMCA Urban Services Program as the chairman for
Oh,
a decade.
you were a chairman,
for a
right.
decade.
But were
Going into the-
were you there talking to the families and figuring out what
Absolutely,
they need?
that's
And
what I did.
And so you would. Then you
don't
should
know.
know.
You didn't
Then
even
you
live
should
here,
know.
Jasper.
Then
You
should
didn't
know.
even live here.
I
You
hate
don't
to
even know what
interrupt
you're
you.
You should
talking
know
about.
then.
I hate to
I do
interrupt
know.
this
That's
for a
why I'm
break.
telling you
Give
what
people off
happened.
the street.
Midnight basketball
You can't get
did
this
not
kind of
work.
disagreement
It
everywhere.
did not work.
We've got to squeeze in a commercial break. We'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
I want to shift gears now to talk about some recent endorsements for Marsha Blackburn in the governor's race. How significant are they? The latest include Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson, who's being challenged for his seat, House Majority Leader William Lamberth, Tommy Lauren, the TV commentator, and radio host Clay Travis. My question is, guys, and Jess, we'll start with you, do these endorsements mean anything? I know it's on the Republican side, but I mean, do people pay any attention to endorsements in your experience?
I think the establishment does and will and have been paying attention to who's endorsing in this race, and I think it's clearing the path for Senator Blackburn, to become the next governor. You know, I think that's that's the plan, and I think they're working their plan, and we'll see how they, if it continues to execute the way that it is. I think she's going to have a clear path.
Now, John Rose, I'm sure, would love to have had some of these endorsements. To his point, it is sort of the Republican establishment. How do you read the tea leaves on that?
Oh, I don't think he has a shot. I mean, ever since Marsha, he was doing fine or whatever campaigning, and then Marsha came in, and ever since then, his numbers have plummeted. Sadly, even hearing him speak at things, it's not motivating. It doesn't feel like he has experience to be governor, and I think the public knows it.
Steve, have you spent any time with Rose in the last week or two?
Yeah, I've spent time with both of them. The numbers haven't plummeted. He's actually moved 10 points closer to Marsha since Ward Baker was running around the state saying she had a 60-point lead, and suddenly it was 40.
In the past 4 days?
No, in the last month, he has not had his numbers plummet. What I'm having a problem with John, he's already put $5 million into his race. He's prepared to put 5 or 10. You got to start spending it now. You've got to close that gap. And frankly, the only endorsement that really matters in this race is if Donald Trump picks a side. Last week he said, I'm not picking a side now. I might ultimately be forced to, but he's not picking a side now, which means John needs to spend some money, close that name ID gap, because that's where Marsha's ahead. She spent millions of dollars in the last 6 years, another last year, another million with AFP supporting her to push vouchers. So he needs to spend money to close that gap, and then we'll see how the race narrows.
Well, my last question on that group that that I sent out to you guys was, would a Trump endorsement trump all the others? And the reason he might get it, John Rose might get it, is because when it came time to certify the results of the election, John Rose wouldn't do it, which is what Trump wanted him to do. Do you think that would be enough in and of itself to have Trump say, okay, I'm going to get behind this guy, or do you think the president will sit this one out?
I don't begin to make guesses about the president's politics. However, President Trump has shown us he doesn't give a crap about loyalty, and so I would be surprised if he felt the need to show loyalty to Rose on this one. I don't.
He is very transactional.
Yes.
If you could do something for me, then I'm behind you.
Some of the time. But
does the governor of Tennessee matter to him?
Yeah. The governor of Tennessee does matter to him. I don't think you can discount Farm Bureau and the hold that Rose has in East Tennessee, as well as within the rural farming community, and the industries that he understands here. These endorsements only matter for Senator Blackburn because it's going to give her a fundraising boost early on from the establishment. Sure. Now, she can use that to further raise funds and compete with Congressman Rose's ability to self-fund.
I'm guessing all these people we talked about could give her some money from their own sort of, Senate campaign, House campaign. They could donate it.
There are limits, but they could run independent expenditures.
Right, and then also, like you said, boost. And so sending out emails, sending out, mailers, doing things to help her to close that fundraising gap. And I actually kind of disagree with you, like on, Rose spending. He may be being wise and waiting closer to the election time when people actually remember
paying attention
that there's an election. Because right now, yes, you can do all you can do everything now, and people will forget come next August because the primary is not till
I'd stay
August.
out while this special election's on because
exactly. We'll be right back. You're watching Nashville in Focus.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
Metro, according to my reporting, is close to, I guess, finalizing a deal to have the group over in East Tennessee come here from Bristol and run our speedway. Jasper, are you hearing anything new about that?
No, nothing new. It's just a lot of exciting things happening right now at the fairgrounds. The fair opened up this weekend.
That's right.
You know, and so it's going to be monster truck, right? You know, there's going to be a couple of, you know, racing things that happens, you know, throughout the fair, and you know, we're just looking, you know, waiting. We have a board meeting, you know, coming up, you know, in a few weeks, and so
maybe something new at that
we'll
time.
see, you know, what happens, you know, if we get anything then or maybe later. So
well, Periscope's up and we're watching.
Well, and I did want to clarify, it's not a group out of East coming into the city. The operator is
Right.
the same operator that it's been. They just happen to be headquartered out of East, but then they have a local operator. So.
And they own
No
the National Super Speedway
Yes.
over in Gladeville.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, another thing too is like, I think is like, for clarification, is like people are saying, oh, NASCAR,
Speedway Motorsports, I
like
believe it's
NASCAR. Everybody's talking about NASCAR, but it really isn't about NASCAR. It's about, you know, creating, you know, making sure that a metro property that's designed and created to make revenue actually does that and not drain the resources of the city.
Isn't the track losing about $1 million a year? Or the
Yeah, but
property?
we're sort of catching up on that, you know, because we have other, you know, things in
Events.
place, and that's what we just have to keep that trajectory and making sure so that way, because the way that I see it as the board chair is that we need to be helping to fund education, to fund programs,
making money,
we're supposed to making money
returning it to
and returning it, and not, you know, being a burden on the people, especially with the, you know, the uncertainty of, you know, the budget, you know, and you know, and things in that, you know, we have to start being a little bit more fiduciary responsible, you know, as a body. And so
Then if you fix that place up and you get some
Right.
more races in there, then that, you know,
not just races,
Other events.
like other
Concerts.
events. Like we can expand CMA. CMA can expand their footprint from out of downtown. We're only a mile and a
remember
half
when
Just
away.
good. We
CMA's
need
entire-
more space.
Right, yeah,
It's going to
just
be
for
good for the
example.
public. Yeah.
Right,
It's
yeah,
gonna be
A
great.
parking garage that you may
Right.
need for the soccer games.
Right.
You know, this mayor has been able to get certain things done that other mayors haven't. For example, the transit referendum, the East Bank deal, things
Yes.
of that nature. But the mayor has said from the beginning, when he was a councilman during his election, and since then, he's committed to speaking to the community, talking to the community, and engaging all stakeholders. And so I don't think, you know, there will be a deal announced or finalized until he's made all of his rounds and circles and talked to everyone and made sure it's a perfect deal to bring forward.
Well, you know, at some point he's going to have to start thinking about re-election, and having accomplished some things would help him to make a case if he can actually get some things
I don't
like that accomplished.
haven't seen polling in the past month. I don't think he's in a place right now where he has to worry about it. He's still an insanely popular mayor with 69% approval ratings. And so and that was after Ogles came in and attacked him on the
That's
ICE
how you keep the
stuff.
challengers away. You
And
keep
so I
accomplishing
would be,
things.
and he has a war chest, so I would be significantly surprised if he did have a trouble with re-election. Now, it is a numbers game because
Sure.
Nashville, the way we do it, it's sort of winner takes all, but I would be significantly surprised if someone were able
I don't
to
have a
mount.
ton of
Would
time
you
left,
agree
but
with that?
you get a bite.
I would just say Jasper said polls don't matter.
The only poll that matters is the poll on election day.
That's true.
That's the only poll that matters.
You know, I think, again, Nashville just broke records for tourism dollars. And I think my question would be, A, this will help. Other things that we bring, but where's the money going? I mean, we're breaking records with tourism dollars, as was Knoxville, as was the state.
So fund
and
the
we still
other
have-
areas of the state.
I'm going to have to leave it there because we are flat out
Yeah,
of
we
time.
do. We give it all to the state. We give it all to your friends at the
Thank
state.
you.
See you next week.